Okay, good morning, everybody. This is TX21Indivisible, and this is our normal Wednesday virtual Chip Roy meeting. I say virtual because neither Chip Roy nor his staff actually agreed to appear with us, so we're on our own. But this will be recorded and posted on various social media platforms for more people to see. So we read letters, and then these do actually get forwarded on to Washington. Hopefully somebody actually pays some attention to them at the other end. Anyway, I'll begin by reading my short letter. I think I'll take this off though for the moment. Reprehensible Roy, apart from writing and posting unhinged tweets and on Twitter about white woke people and taking a road trip of national monuments in the Northeast, what else have you been doing in Washington over the last few weeks? I decided to check your voting record for the last 4 weeks just to find out. It reveals a lot about who is Chip Roy. I count about 11 bills you voted on since June the 25th, and I'll just go through them. There was the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. You voted no. Washington, D.C. Admission Act. You voted no. Patient Protection and Affordable Care Enhancement Act. You voted no. Protecting Your Credit Score Act. You voted no. Emergency Housing Protections and Relief Act. You voted no. Invest in America Act. You voted no. That was an infrastructure bill for highways and things. National Defense Authorization Act for 2021, you voted no. The Future Act, you voted no. That was a bill for providing funding, I think, for black colleges and things. The Great American Outdoors Act, you voted no. Replacing Confederate statues in the Capitol, it had a longer title, but that's basically what it was. You voted no, although you said you applauded Congress for doing it, so I'm left confused. And then finally, Department of State, Foreign Operations and Appropriations Act, and you voted no. Well, Dr. No, it's clear from the way you vote, you do not care about those in financial need, those with healthcare need, those with housing needs, financial help for our black colleges, etc. You do not care about protecting our environment, our public parks, addressing the systemic racial biases and divides that exist in our society, or even investing in America's crumbling infrastructure. Every single bill voted on in the House since June the 25th, you have voted no. Many of your Republican colleagues, however, did vote yes on a number of these bills. Do you ever get off your ideological pillar and consider representing those in your district that are actually in need? It seems that the only groups that you represent are those who contributed to your campaign and those opposing immigration and the browning of America. As a congressional representative, you are supposed to at least try to represent the whole of your district. Well, fortunately, Mr. Chip, there is an election coming up, and the voters in TX21 will have the opportunity to correct this and say a resounding no to Charles Eugene Roy, and elect Wendy Davis, who does care about our well-being, our healthcare, our environment, our children's education, our infrastructure, correcting the racial biases in our society, and will work to effect the necessary changes. November cannot come soon enough for me. After 2 years in office, the enlightened voters of District 21 can clearly see who is Chip Roy. It's time for you to pack your bags, Mr. Roy. Goodbye, Mr. Chip. Signed, one of the white woke people in your district, Brian Clark. And if anybody wants to get a little bit more information about Chip Roy, you can always go here, okay? Whoischiproy.com.
Great.
Okay.
Here, can I make a real quick comment? I read this interesting thing one time. The first word toddlers learn is no, and the last word remembered by dementia patients is no. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very.
So What are you saying? Is Chip Roy at the first stage or the last stage?
He's at both at the same time. He's a little toddler with no memory throwing a fit, and all he knows is no, no. Somebody needs to pick him up and carry him out of the store.
Okay, let's go around the table again. Nice one, Shirley.
You want me to go next? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Chip Roy, where to start? I read your tweet of July 28th. So much wrong. Democrats do not refuse to stand up for America. I'm working as hard as I can to save America from annihilation by the Republican administration and by you. And there are thousands more of Democrats just like me. And by the way, a number of us live in Texas District 21. We don't refuse to stand by the police. We want the police to protect all citizens and for laws to be followed when police kill unarmed citizens without reason. I really don't understand how you can state that the Republican administration has made any effort to combat the Trump virus. I wonder if 150,000 dead people agree with you that Democrats are just politicizing your efforts to fight the virus. I could continue, but I'm busy making calls for Wendy Davis for Congress. And Congress will work again after November. Shirley Mount. That's it.
I seem to have lost my feed here.
Oh, no.
Can you guys see me?
We can
Yeah.
see you and
I
hear
can
you.
see you and
I
hear you.
Well, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a
Next.
good letter, Shirley.
Thanks.
Anybody want to go next?
I'll go next. Mine's kind of short
Okay.
Okay.
for me. Okay, this is July 29th. Representative Roy, yesterday you responded to your opponent Wendy Davis on Twitter criticizing her post about the risks of hydroxychloroquine as a COVID-19 therapy. You stated, quote, "I needn't take a position on the efficacy of HCQ because I know government shouldn't decide for you," unquote. The FDA report that Ms. Davis linked to was produced by 5 licensed pharmacists and MDs. Is it your position that any medical professional who provides information to the government is ipso facto a member of the government whose words cannot be trusted? If so, how do you propose our nation inform the populace about the known risks surrounding drugs like HCQ? Should we rely on Donald Trump Jr. to tweet videos from people like Stella Emanuel, who believe some diseases are caused by sex with demons and witches and that alien DNA is used in medical treatment? Do you believe that some diseases are caused by sex with demons and witches? Would you have sought your cancer treatment from a doctor who did? Or did you rely on doctors who received NSF grant funding and were trained at and worked for public institutions like MD Anderson? Representative Roy, Texans are tired of your vulture conservatism. Your life and career have been made possible by institutions that you continually trash in order to gain some small political profit. Our nation's medical system is under unprecedented strain because your political party has for decades refused to acknowledge the crisis of healthcare costs. Our coronavirus response has been non-existent because the head of your party disbanded the NSC pandemic response team. And you have the nerve to offer a ridiculous response like healthcare freedom, which is nothing more than the freedom to die of preventable illnesses or to doctor oneself with snake oil and quack remedies. 150,000 Americans are dead and you are gorging on their carcasses. It's an ugly sight and one that the voters of Texas 21 will not forget. Since you're from Maryland, there's something you may not know about buzzards, something every Texan knows. They stink. They smell. The smell of carrion permeates their feathers and they stink to high heaven. And so do you, Congressman Roy. And in 100 days, the voters of Texas 21 are going to clear the air. Sincerely, Susan Shorn, Austin, Texas.
Yay, that was good.
Wow, that was
That's all right.
powerful.
Yeah.
There's a stench
like it.
about it, of course.
That was good, George.
Mike, are you back? Can you see us?
I can see you now.
Yay.
I can hear you. And I'm not sure what happened exactly.
Okay.
But that's
Never
my
is.
life in this 21st century. may I go ahead and read?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Roy, here we are less than 100 days before the next election, in which you must defend your seat in Congress. It has been 3 years, 9 months or so since you assumed your office, and it seems like a good time to look at your accomplishments as a legislator. I see that you have sponsored, co-sponsored, or helped draft 22 pieces of legislation, 21 of which are locked in committee with a very low chance of passing, rated at between 1% and 3%. The single bill that you introduced, listed as the lead author, is a House Resolution 6886, Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act of 2020, which was passed because it was incorporated in the HR 7010 Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act of 2020. It seems to be a calendar limit and procedural limit on payback of interest for short-term loans given to the business community. It's fairly opaque. So I have a series of questions. Have you worked across the aisle? You joined bipartisan bills the third least often compared to House Republicans. How do you compare to all House members? You co-sponsored the 19th fewest bills compared to all representatives. How did you work the delegation to help gain and support for your proposed legislation? You got influential co-sponsors the 96th least often compared to all representatives. Bills passed out of committee, 0. Bills actually passed, not counting the one that was phaged by another author, 0. Even for a Republican in a Democratic majority House, your performance seems to have limited value for your constituents. What were you doing in Washington, Mr. Roy? I realize it takes time and effort to learn how Congress works, and that sincere, dedicated action in teamwork and co-sponsorship is required to make connections and find mentors who would help develop the skills and hone negotiating facility necessary to become an effective legislature. I have not seen that effort, Mr. Roy. What I have seen is a penchant for notoriety and conflict, a willingness to explosively lose your temper to gain attention from the press. Walking out of meetings is not a negotiating strategy, and tantrums are not reasoned arguments. I am disappointed, Mr. Roy. I had hoped for more, for growth, for positive actions benefiting your district. Thank you, Paul Farmer. Here you go.
That was really good information about the bills.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
I can read a proposed a bill 4 or 5 times and still be completely bemused as to its actual context and what it's actually seeking to accomplish. So I'm a little shaky on that part.
I
What,
think
what
a
was
lot
the
of
source? What was the source of the frequency data that you had where he was 19th and co-sponsored?
Well, I was trying to pull that up whenever I lost my video feed,
Oh.
Susan.
Was it
it-
ProPublica?
I'm I don't want to do it because I'll lose your feed again.
Oh, okay. You can tell me afterwards.
I will.
Thank
I
you.
will. It's a website, and well, I'll tell you what. I'll either text it to you or send it to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Mike, I think a lot of the things that you mentioned would work well in a television commercial.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, there were a
Okay.
lot of good bullets in there that.
Are we into that? Are we going to start producing?
Well, I don't know, but I was thinking more in terms of Wendy Davis. But
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of support. Look at the Republicans.
Mhm.
This the Lincoln Project, or Project Lincoln.
that's
Those
true.
guys are tough.
Those commercials are just excellent.
Well, there's something about being able to draw blood that seems to be in their system, their DNA.
Mhm.
And that kind of viciousness, I have a hard time relating to, but I enjoy it.
I do too. I guess I'll go ahead and read next. I have two letters, both of them are short. Representative Roy, on July 22nd, the U.S. House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed H.R. 7217, a bipartisan bill to have Confederate statues and chip speak certain statues removed from the U.S. Capitol. Sadly, you not only voted against it, but added insult to injury by saying that the bill was a waste of time and effort with so many other issues facing our country, which brings to mind the common civil rights refrains of, if not now, when? And justice long delayed is justice denied. For you, Representative Roy, there will never be a right time, as you seemingly would rather continue stirring the pot of racial and ethnic divisions by not only equivocating on the removal of divisive statues, but by falsely insisting that Mexico is the source of COVID-19 in Texas, and by frequently referring to the coronavirus as the Wuhan virus. Furthermore, as the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. once said, the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. We saw that with the end of the slave trade in 1808, the effective end of slavery in 1865, the passage of the Civil and Voting Rights Acts of the mid-1960s, the removal of Confederate flags and memorials and statues as we speak, and in the not too distant future, the hoped for end of voter suppression, which predominantly affects people of color. Representative Roy, you clearly fell off the arc of history sometime in the 19th century. And as such, the 21st century is squeezing you into an ever untenable position. But rest assured, those future historians that you love to defer to are going to have a field day with you. For healing and unity that we're not receiving from you, Stephen Shackelford.
Hey,
Thanks, Steve. Yeah. You going to do the next one?
Well, yeah, I guess so. We got some time here, it looks like.
yes.
Representative Roy, on July 8th, Donald Trump forced Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman to retire from the U.S. Army because last fall, Vindman felt that his patriotic duty to speak the truth in the congressional impeachment hearings regarding Trump having betrayed our nation for personal political gain. When Vindman's family immigrated to the United States from the former Soviet Union, his dad had assured him that you could speak the truth in a democracy without the government retaliating against you. But sadly, with the ever-growing despotism of Donald Trump, that's no longer the case. And if that wasn't bad enough, just 2 days later, Trump threw justice and the rule of law out the window by rewarding a justly convicted felon, his friend and associate Roger Stone, with a commutation of his prison sentence. The sad irony of these two despicable actions by Trump knows no measure and will live on in the deplorable infamy of Donald Trump and his equally deplorable lackeys like you. Representative Roy, you a supporter of the rule of law? Now that's a good one. For the rule of law freed from far-right hypocrisy, Stephen Shackelford.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, those are good. I think we have good letters this week
Yeah, I think they were all very good.
with lots of new information, especially about buzzards.
Yeah, I like that. Christina, do you have something you'd like to say?
Hi. I just echo all of what you guys have written and would add that I also think we need an accounting for the Russian bounties and why no
yes.
one has
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
responded to that. And there's no, it's just, there's just no reason that is anything except for the support for Putin that is just mind-boggling. of this administration. And Trump obviously is not going to take a stand, and it appears that the Republicans are going to allow our military to be harmed and literally murdered by whoever may want to do so without any repercussions. And so I would ask Chip Roy to respond to that, and that we're not forgetting. These things are not going away, because we do have a crisis in Texas that is killing, and now young people are becoming ill with the virus, and there's no action being taken except to try to force kids into schools and teachers into harm's way.
Really.
So if you were actively working on behalf of 21 and not responding to the Russian bounty, but since you're not helping us, I think you can at least address the treasonous behavior of not speaking out against Russian bounties. I think it's been 45 days since we learned of this, and there's been no response.
I've heard nothing out of him on
Nothing.
that issue.
Yeah. Oops.
So I'm glad you brought it up.
Thank you, Christina.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I got another thing I was going to put up here before we kind of ended. So that's, if you want to know more about Chip Roy, you can go here. If you want to know about Wendy, you go here. So, okay.
I love those little faces.
Yeah, I like those little faces on there.
Yes, editorial positions.
My comment. Okay,
Right.
good guys.